Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. I know it's been a few days, but here we have a new one. This one's going to be a little bit different because I don't typically review things outside of Power Rangers, Marvel Legends, occasionally Star Wars. But here we have something special. And the reason why I will be reviewing this one and will be collecting this one is because when I think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, in the old cartoon from the 80s, 90s, whenever it actually was. I did watch it. I don't remember much of it, but the thing that I remember the most was Krang. So that is why this particular figure, I actually am going to be keeping this one and reviewing it here for you guys. So shout out to Spawn XD209, my buddy. He picked one up for me this morning. I met up with him. He came right over. And I got it from him, so thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. So here we have the NECA Target exclusive TMNT cartoon Krang. It says the Wrath of Krang there. Looking at the side, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Wrath of Krang. Looking at the back, we got a couple of different shots of what some of the accessories and stuff that actually comes in here. It does say the Bubble Walker sold separately. That was in one of those 2-packs, I believe. So this android robot version of Krang is what is new. So looking at it, we have the window box. So like the Ultimates figures, we actually can see the figure there and all the accessories and everything. We have Krang, all that good stuff. So lots of stuff going on there. So let's now open it up and take a look at the figure. Okay, and so quickly looking at this before I open it up, everything is on lockdown in this damn thing. There are these little plastic ties holding everything in place. So I got to cut all those out, but nothing will ever fall out of this thing. Okay, so here is the Krang figure out of the package, and there's some really cool things. This thing is packed with all kinds of accessories. It's kind of insane how many accessories he comes with, but it's still a NECA figure. So I have some NECA figures, but I really haven't messed with them too much. So this thing kind of suffers from what I have seen, even the little bit. You know, these figures can be very fragile, but the paint apps on these things kind of get a little weird. To whereas I'm used to Marvel Legends, Power Rangers, what Hasbro does is you have the paint that is applied on certain things. So let's take a look at a Power Rangers figure, right? So this is all red plastic, and then the white and black is painted on the torso, but that black arm, that's black plastic. Whereas these NECA figures don't necessarily do that. So what you see here, it's pretty much all paint. So one of the things that I don't like when we look at like the joint hinges and stuff, and then even like here on the legs, it's painted on top of the plastic, which kind of gives it a particular look, one that I'm not the most, the biggest fan of. But like on mine, real quick, I'm going to show you guys, is I already have paint chipping off of it. So if you look right there, there's already a huge paint chip right in the leg. And then what happens is sometimes things can get caught while it's being painted and get painted over, and just some weird things like that that I'm just not, you know, really the biggest fan of. But that's kind of one of the things that NECA does. That's kind of how their paint apps are and how it's known for. I prefer more of a clean kind of style, and that's something that just isn't NECA, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my preference, which is why I don't typically get too many NECA figures, why I don't have any of the Toon Ninja Turtle figures or anything like that. Yes, I enjoyed it, but you know, it just wasn't the biggest nostalgia factor. But this version of Krang kind of hits that for me, but I am left a little disappointed in my first initial reactions when it comes to the figure. I will be honest with you. So looking at the accessories, let's get Krang out of the way so it doesn't keep focusing in on him. But again, he's packed with accessories. So we have this little shredder here, and you guys let me know down in the comments below. I don't recall what this was from, and if they had shrunk him down or if they reverted him back to a kid in the cartoon. I'd have to go back and watch or kind of research that, so I haven't done that yet. So it is interesting. This is painted nicely. I really don't have any of those issues there. We get those black lines in there to kind of show the folds of it. It kind of reminds me of like a cell shade type paint apps and stuff like that, but that is done nicely. We have this here which goes on his head, and I think this is from like a shower scene or something where he was wet, and it does come with like a towel that you can wrap him in, and I think this was kind of what he puts on his head. So there's that, and so it's pretty interesting. One thing that's really cool, we get this Mace Ball here with the spikes on it. It's just done in a dark gray and then lighter gray for the spikes, and we actually get a real metal chain, which is quite nice. So you can see that is a metal chain, real metal chain right there, and then it has the end where he would be able to probably hold that. We actually get 2 of those. so not too bad. We have 4 additional hands. So we have this open hand for his right, this holding hand for his left. Then we have an open hand for his left and a holding hand for his right. On the figure right out of the package, just has these really wide open hands on him. We get this necklace piece here. Focus. That's just done in this light brown rope color there, and then just has this gray box with the black outline there. We get this saw hand here, so that is really cool, and that really spins, so that is nice. We get this sky blue there for the spikes on that saw, so that is pretty cool, and that is painted nicely like so. I like the details on that. We get this axe here, and that looks pretty good. And then we get these guns here, and these look kind of nice right inside the barrel. We get this nice little red color. We get this baby blue on there with some grays, blacks, and light grays. So that is pretty cool. We actually get 2 of those, so not bad. So now let's zoom out for the figure. And I almost forgot, because these accessories are teeny tiny. If I can get them to even focus in. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but they kind of look like 2 little tuning forks. But they are very, very small, so... yeah, these are going to be very easy to lose, so be careful with that. And there's just so many damn accessories, I forget everything. He comes with blueprints for the big robot portion of him, so that is really cool, and we can take that out. I'll show that a little bit later. Okay, so here's a close-up look at the Krang figure out of the package, and it looks like he came right out of the TV screen, right out of the cartoon. He's very top-heavy, by the way, so watch out for that. So he looks really good overall. We get these black lines in there to kind of show some of the depth of the figure and some of those wrinkle spots. We don't get it on the back, which is not really surprising, but you think they kind of would to kind of keep it up with the rest of the figure. This black line there along the side. We have his feet there. That all looks really good. Looking at the front and the back, we get this lighter yellow into this darker yellow there. Krang sitting in there looking really good. So that is really cool. It does look really good. Again, it looks just like it did coming right straight out of the cartoon. Now, one of the things to get Krang in and out of sitting in the body, what you want to do is you want to kind of get your thumb in here and push out a little bit on the yellow so you can pull out that top portion of the Krang body, because that is how you are going to get Krang in and out of there. And you can see kind of it's tabbed in where it's going to secure that upper body to the lower portion of the body, and Krang sits in there because underneath he has this giant hole there, so we can pour it right on in there, so it holds it in place. Now the joysticks in here, these can move around, so they are articulated, but I do really recommend being very careful with them. You can move them in a way to where Krang almost kind of wraps his tentacles around one of them. You can't really get both at the same time. I'd be worried about those breaking, and you kind of have to turn Krang certain ways to make sure to kind of get that, but it can be done. But be very, very careful with that. Here's a look at Krang, and he looks really good. I like the way that looks with the pink color, and we get some darker pink color in here to show some of that depth. A little bit of black lines in there. That looks really good. Really like the way that looks. So now let's zoom out for the articulation. Actually, real quick before we look at the articulation, I want to talk about the paint apps on this. So the hinges, the inside of the hinges are painted. However, the paint flakes off like crazy. So you can see it's already flaking off here on his left elbow. But on the right elbow, all that paint's already flaked off. Like it's already done. Like I moved it like once and the paint's already gone on there. I'm sure the same thing is going to happen with these knees, just like on the thigh where that paint was flaking. I'm sure it's going to happen on these hinges as well, so just be aware of that. Now for the full articulation. So Krang's actually got some movement in there. The neck is on a ball peg, so he can do all kinds of motion. So any kind of pivot, full rotation, all of that he can do. So that is pretty good. But as far as looking up, that is it, which is basically straight out. But looking down, he actually can look down a little bit. So that is really cool. The shoulder, you can get the shoulder to go out that wide. And I just took his upper body apart. Look at that. And I just saw some paint flake down and fall. So the shoulder can go up that high. You can get a full rotation if you wanted to. The shoulder pad is rubbery, so it doesn't really get in the way. You can see it kind of moves with that shoulder if that's what you want to do. You have a swivel at the elbow because it is a single jointed elbow, so you're only going to get that much bend, which is hardly anything. as you can see there. There is a waist swivel under the yellow Krang portion there. So the upper torso isn't going to have any other motion, so there's no diaphragm rocker, nothing like that. Just that little bit of swivel there. The legs can go out that far apart. Only this red portion is rubberized, so you can move the leg with it a little bit, and it's not going to kind of get in the way. You can kind of see it bend a little bit. So getting that leg forward, you're going to go that much, which isn't a whole lot. There isn't a waist swivel, but there is some turn there as you can kind of get the leg out, but you can't even work like the leg up and around at all. So it's only that kind of motion there. You have a double jointed knee, but my top portion is stuck, so you need some hot water treatment to get that to work. But the double jointed knee should function like so. With these NECA figures having broken, you know, Casey Jones, I'm trying to be as careful as I possibly can. Foot can hinge all the way up, can hinge down quite a bit as well, and I can see the paint already flaking from that ankle already. And as far as pivot, there is some pivot, but you do want to be very, very careful with it, and he actually does have peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So there is Krang's articulation. Now let's see some of those accessories at work. Okay, so with some of the accessories to use, you just want to pull out the hands, and then you can actually port that axe right on in there on his left. You can port the saw right there on his right, how it showed it actually in the cartoon. So that is pretty cool. These are very, very cool, but I do recommend that you be very, very careful. It is the part that ports into the hand is a plastic piece. However, it is open to where you would be able to work the chain out if need be. But again, be very careful kind of porting those in, that you don't do anything to break those, because he does not come with replacements. But that is really cool. And again, I really like that they're actually metal chains going on there. Too bad they're not super long, because, you know, in one episode he actually shoots them up and wraps some of the turtles, and that's just something obviously the figure's not going to do. But, you know, they wouldn't be able to do that with the real chain anyway, and then if it was plastic, it probably wouldn't look good. So it is definitely a very nice touch. And of course the guns port in there like so. And porting these in is very easy. You just want to twist and kind of pull out slowly. You don't want to do too much. That's how I broke my Casey Jones hand. But one thing I do want to show you guys is that red flaky paint that's coming off of those hinges when they're ported in there. So be mindful and aware of that. Oh, and yes, I just realized that these little tuning fork things go port into the top of his head like so. Silly, silly me. And here's the whole entire ensemble. He's got the towel wrapped around him. He's got what I think is the soap on a string, because, you know, you never drop the soap in the shower, right? You don't do it. So I think that's what that is. And then he has this headpiece. I don't know if that was supposed to be a towel or what it is. But that completes the look there. Okay, and so the blueprints that he comes with, here is the Krang android body blueprint, as you can see there. And this, I don't recall what this was, but you guys let me know down in the comments below about that. But this is straight up paper, like paper. Not even glossy paper, but paper. So that's going to crease up and tear up like crazy, so do be careful with that. But here is the final look at the Krang android figure. It is pretty good. It's a $35 figure, Target exclusive. It's going to be hard as shit to find for everybody, I'm sure. Hopefully you guys are lucky enough. Target stores are receiving them in cases of 6, so hopefully you can get your hands on it. I'm a little bit underwhelmed, to be honest with you, due to the quality of NECA figures. They can be pretty delicate and fragile. Some of the QC things like the flaky paint on the hinges, that could even happen with Hasbro figures, so I kind of get it, right? Those parts move around, but it is noticeable when it starts happening, like on the figure itself. So like right there on my thigh, if you notice the ankles, you see this foot is up much higher than this one, so I'm getting some issues trying to get it to stand. This knee is becoming a little bit loose, while that top one isn't even bending at all. He's very top heavy and has a hard time standing up, but his accessories are absolutely amazing, really cool. Some of the things that they included, they could have even done some more. You know, his hands also had some whips at one time, but the accessories that they gave were pretty awesome. Like, these things are freaking cool. Chain, actual metal chain, how awesome is that? The stupid towel thing, and you put this and the soap on the string. How ridiculous is it that they actually included that stuff? Really fun stuff that they're doing, so I can't even be mad at it. It almost makes me want to have the cartoon Ninja Turtles, but I just can't with everything that's kind of going in all the collecting. I have the movie Turtles and stuff already, so I can't do all that. The baby Uncle Phil was a really nice touch right there, so that is actually pretty awesome. I don't really remember it from the show, but I did YouTube a video, and you could see, I don't know exactly why he turned into a baby, but at one time he did turn into a baby. Looking at his articulation, so he can bend at the waist like so he can sit down, which is pretty cool. And then of course his head is articulated on a ball joint, so he can move around like that. He can kind of swivel it around, and his arms, so he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 points of articulation for a POA figure. This is actually a really nice addition that Uncle Phil, James Avery, would be proud of. So that is definitely a nice touch. So, you know, if you have the Cartoon Ninja Turtles, obviously this is going to be one that you guys are going to pick up. But for me, it's just an okay release. But again, this one really hits me with that nostalgia factor as being the most memorable thing from that cartoon form, aside from the Turtles, of course. But the most memorable thing from that cartoon. So this is one that I'm actually pretty pleased to have, but it's not surprising that, you know, the NECA quality of figure is kind of what I'm experiencing. But I am, for the most part, happy with it. You guys let me know down in the comments below your thoughts on this figure. If you guys liked the video, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and as always, thank you for watching.